Well, I don't think anybody that wasn't there. I mean, we've had 25 years to make the adjustment. I don't think about the same way I did, but when I'm put in a position where I've got to tell about it, like today, I start remembering things. And one of the things I remember more than anything else is on that day when we came in to get my Bible, I looked through the glass in the door leading to the north lobby, and here were bodies in our north lobby. People that I knew and loved, having their life stripped away from them for no possible reason. Because in the old church, what you had is you had the choir, which was already halfway to heaven. You know, if the rapture had taken place, they'd have been there instantly, because, I mean, it was way up in the air. And you reached the choir from the sanctuary by two winding staircases that went up to the top, and the organ was set up in that area as well. And so all along that choir front, we had placed Easter lilies. There was probably 30 or 40 of them, and then all around the platform, completely around, 2 deep, there were Easter lilies. Well, all of those Easter lilies were up there. But when the FBI let me back in to get my preaching Bible, I look, all of that movement of this building, the roof lifted 6 inches and fell down, crushed the walls out. And yet here were those lilies, not one single one even turned over. Which, you know, lilies are emblematic of the resurrection. And it was an assurance to me that what you preach is true. And I preserve these lilies just to show that to you, just to let you see it. We met at this Southern Baptist church. We're Methodists. We meet at this Southern Baptist church for 3.5 years. There was never a cross word ever spoken that I know of between any of them and any of us. I tell you what, it was nothing but Christian love demonstrated by them all the way around. And I can never thank God enough, because they actually saved this church. That was well, the fact that while we were gone from here, our church continued to grow. In fact, it grew by leaps and bounds while we were gone. It was incredible to me that God preserved this congregation through that whole thing, because the only thing I could think of is, I said, God, I know that you didn't put a church on this corner to die, and at least not this way. And we began to have meetings about what to do, about whether we would rebuild here or whether we would go to the suburbs. And I just couldn't live with that. I had to go back. I could, as Craig said, the devil's not driving us away from here. But when the windows were all blown out on that south side, the major window was the famous window of Jesus and the lambs. It's the one where he's got the lamb around his shoulders, and then the mother, you, is looking up at her baby around the neck of Jesus. And when we came back into the building, were able to come back in, there was nothing left of the windows on that side. It was completely gone. So what we did is we were just going through picking up boxes of glass. We didn't want to throw any of that glass away, so we were just keeping the glass shards. And Chris Skinner, who was my building manager, she picked up one of them, and it was the face of Jesus, completely preserved. You'll see it right in the middle of the window, his face. And so what we did is we had a couple of ladies in the church that were artists in stained glass, And so they took the pieces, some of the pieces, and they put them together into this round rose window, and with the face of Jesus right in the middle. And then they put a ring around it, and in the ring, the words, He takes our broken pieces and puts it, and in love puts us back together again. And that window is the window that's now the rose window of the chapel. When everything was finished, we got ready, and we'd been over at Trinity all this time, 3.5 years. We had our whole church gathered together in the parking lot at Trinity. The Oklahoma City Police Department then went and blocked off all the. They formed a place for us to have a walk to the new church. I'm telling you, it was absolutely unbelievable. We, all of us together, so many people, and we are marching down the street. They've got the traffic blocked and all this, and we come up to the front of the church to the stairs. Now, what happened is that Bishop Solomon and my district superintendent, Doug McPherson, had both slipped into the church. They were here. I knew this, but nobody else did. And my organist was in here. And I walked up to the front door, and I knocked on the door with my fist. And all of a sudden the bishop threw the doors open. And all of a sudden the organist began to play my theme song and started playing that, and we began to march into this place. It was filled to absolute capacity. And I'll never, ever forget the bishop praying over this congregation. And it was one of the high moments of my life. Yes, I think that we saw during that period of time a kind of, I think, spiritual renewal in downtown Oklahoma City. I think that was one of the great outcomes of that, is that people were kinder and gentle. You know, they talk about the Oklahoma standard. Well, that doesn't just come out of anywhere. It doesn't just happen. You know, it's because you got people whose hearts are geared to helping and a love that's supernatural, as I see it. And it just was a reminder to me of how, in the midst of chaos, that God's still God. In the midst of everything that man can do, God does His best. And He's never failed me.